Welcome everyone to the game between Nihal Sarin as he enters in for his game against Richard Rapport. We are at the Menorca Open and this is round number 4. Nihal comes in. The Open is beautifully organized with so many players, and then there's the Menorca Masters which is happening with 6 players: Gukesh, Hari, Dominguez, Ponomaryov and Nihal and Rapport. Nihal arrives a bit late to the game. He settles down in his chair and gets ready for the big clash here. Nihal Sarin has started off the tournament pretty decently. He won his first game with Hari Krishna, lost the second to Dominguez, and the third one he won against Gukesh. Meanwhile, Richard Rapport has had a win against Dominguez, draw to Ponomaryov, and a loss to Hari Krishna. This is the fourth round, and the players are ready. Nihal has already spent 1.5 minutes on the clock. Both players have 30 minutes plus 10 seconds of increment. We are looking at Nihal, one of the best positional players in the world, taking on one of the creative geniuses of chess, Richard Rapport. So it's clash of styles. Knight comes out to f3. Rapport goes knight to f6. And Nihal plays pawn to d4. So he's converted this into d4 opening. And let's see what Richard Rapport plays here. He goes pawn to e6. Now you can play c4 and bring it into the main line territory. But bishop f4 is the London system here. You have pawn to c5, e3, and bishop comes out to e7. It's very interesting when the London system gets played at the top level. Ooh, but he goes knight c3. The Jobava London is on the board. And by the way, just so that you know, b6 is a mistake here because of d5. This is a trap worth noting, and white gets a very good solid edge there. a6 played, controlling the b5 square. Now no longer can the knight enter in. And let's see what Nihal chooses now. He can push his pawn forward with d5, and he does it. Pawn to d5 and d6 played. He takes on e6. Now this move slightly weird because fe6 allows white to build a very strong center, but Richard takes it with the bishop. Bit surprised with this decision. Nihal goes knight g5, attacking the bishop. And now knight comes out to c6. He's ready to give up the e6 bishop here, and Nihal, I think, will jump at the opportunity of taking it. On the upside, now Nihal has a very sort of strong bishop pair, but Rapport has a very strong center here. fe6, and now the queen comes out to f3. The queen is looking in these two directions here. And maybe the queen can go to h3 to attack this pawn. d5. Black's position looking solid here. Clash of ideas. Clash of very interesting styles. Long castle played by Nihal, putting his rook on the d file in the center. And maybe queen a5 makes a lot of sense to bring the queen here. b6, a5. But Rapport goes castles. And I can see a weakness on the e6 square. So attacking it with queen h3 does make sense. And he plays it. Queen to h3. Looking here, the bishop could come to d3, eyeing the h7 pawn. There's also g4, g5 that can be played. Queen c8. Defends here. And now pawn to g4. He pushes forward with the idea of g5. And you have pawn to d4, hitting in the center, because this is very interesting the way things are developing. Now g5 played, because if you took here, takes here, then the knight would also get this square. So g5. Now if knight d5, I have knight takes d5. So you must take here and then take here. But he makes a big mistake. He goes knight d5, and that is a huge error by Rapport, because he's just helped Nihal in a big way. take here, at the very least after cb2, king b1, and rook f6. This is a playable position. I mean, it looks dangerous with the bishop d3. Also remember, if bishop f6, there is bishop c4 attacking here. So rook takes was important, but should have taken here. Should have taken, but instead has gone for knight d5. Now Nihal takes, and queen takes c8. And Nihal Sarin is essentially telling Richard that you are worse. Bishop h3. The bishop looking here. Suddenly Nihal has a huge advantage because of his bishop pair. What a big miss by Rapport. He plays rook d8. Bishop comes into c7, attacking the rook. And if you bring your rook to a8, then I have bishop e6 check, h4, and just a very good position here. Like, look at this, two bishops dominating. So Rapport decides to give up an exchange. He goes bishop g5. Nihal first gives a check, king h8, and now picks up the rook. His position is clearly there for choice. Bishop d8, knight takes on d8, and now bishop takes pawn. He comes in, rook takes f2. The e3 pawn is a bit loose, and you have to play this carefully because both of them drinking some water here. Seems like a water break in between the game. But I think Nihal is doing this very smartly. He sees that he's winning, so he doesn't need to rush in. He plays his rook to f1. And you have to trade the rooks because otherwise there's a mate that's threatened there. So first a check. King b1. Rook comes back to f6. And now you can take. He plays pawn to c3. One of the things that is a big struggle for Richard is his knight. The knight is dominated by the bishop. It's a rule in chess, right? When the knight is on the last rank, the bishop controls, if 2 squares away, it controls all the squares it can go to. CD. CD. And now Nihal goes pawn to h3. The idea is rook h2 to win this bishop. g6 played, rook comes to h2. If you go rook d6, I can even snatch another pawn. He does play it. Taking on f2 would give black some chances after rook takes d5. So first, taking this important pawn, bishop b7, a good move. And if you take on b7, I take on f2, so he plays bishop h4. And now you come back right into the center, bishop e4. d3 becomes impossible because of rook d2 and then, rook d2, and then you lose material. So that's the reason why knight e6. It does feel like Rapport is getting back into the game with his pieces becoming more active. But actually, Nihal is well positioned. His bishop is well placed. Both the rooks are well placed. Knight g5 with 5 seconds. Both players down to their last few seconds. Rook to c7. If you take here, there's a mate. So rook d8. Maybe just simple bishop d3. Putting the bishop on a good square. And now, if you take here, this does feel like bad. I mean, my rook could enter here. Rook can go to h1. Oh, but he takes it. He takes it. Rapport doesn't see too much here to save his position. Rook h1. Bishop g3 attacks the rook and boom. If you take here, check, and you lose the bishop as well. And Nihal Sarin wins the game with a very nice bit of play. I think everything hinged upon that critical moment where Rapport should have taken on c3, but instead played knight d5 and then went on to lose the game. The third win in this tournament for Nihal Sarin as he shows his class Richard Rapport, well, he goes home after this round quite unhappy with the way in which how things have progressed.